I was holding my wife's signed confession to a year-long affair on a Thursday afternoon in a family court conference room when her lawyer accused me of fabricating evidence. The same confession 4 of our closest friends had witnessed her write 6 months earlier at a drunk game night in our living room. If you've got some time and maybe a strong drink, settle in. This is going to take a while. So, why did I wait 6 months between finding that confession and using it? That's the question everyone asks. The truth is, I wasn't waiting. I was preparing. And by the time I was done, I didn't just win the divorce. I destroyed the life my wife tried to build on top of our marriage's corpse. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the beginning, back when I thought I had it all figured out. Back when I was still naive enough to believe that love and loyalty were the same thing. This is the story of how a drinking game ended my marriage, ruined my best friend's engagement, and taught me that sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. It just gives you better weapons. My name is Christopher Hayes. I'm 32. I teach high school history in Austin, Texas. And for 6 years I was married to a woman who destroyed me so quietly, I didn't hear it happening until it was too late. Emily and I met in college, back when life was keg parties and philosophy debates that felt important at 2 a.m. She was studying marketing, I was pre-law before I switched to education, and we had that kind of electric chemistry that makes you stupid. We got married at 26 in a backyard ceremony with string lights and too much wine. Jason, my best friend since we were 8 years old, was my best man. He gave a toast about how I'd finally found someone who could tolerate my obsession with World War II documentaries. Everyone laughed. Emily kissed my cheek. Jason hugged us both. That moment should have lasted forever. It lasted 6 years. We built what I thought was a good life in Austin. We bought a house in Mueller, one of those neighborhoods where everyone has a rescue dog and goes to the farmer's market on Sundays. Emily climbed the corporate ladder at a tech startup, pulling down $85,000 a year as a marketing manager. I taught history at a public high school and coached the debate team for $58,000. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We had brunch friends, we had a mortgage, we had a 5-year plan. The plan included kids. That's where everything started to crack, though I didn't see it then. We'd been trying for 2.5 years, month after month of negative pregnancy tests and forced optimism. Finally, we got the diagnosis. My sperm count was low, really low. The doctor said IVF was an option, maybe adoption, maybe just acceptance. I felt like someone had reached into my chest and crushed something essential. Emily said all the right things at first. She held my hand in the doctor's office. She said it didn't matter, we'd figure it out together. But over the next few months, I watched her change. She got distant, started going to therapy alone, said, I wouldn't benefit from it. She threw herself into work, into early morning gym sessions, into a life that seemed to need less and less of me in it. We'd painted a nursery blue-gray 2 years earlier, back when we were optimistic. Now it just stored boxes and broken dreams. Every time I walked past that room, I felt the weight of my own inadequacy. Emily stopped having sex with me more than once a month. When we did, she seemed somewhere else entirely. I told myself it was the stress, the fertility issues, work pressure. I told myself a lot of things. Jason was around constantly during this period. He'd been my best friend for 24 years. He was practically family. He came over 2 or 3 times a week. He and Emily both worked in the Austin tech scene, so they'd talk shop about marketing campaigns and startup culture while I graded papers. I thought it was nice that they got along. I thought it was healthy that Emily had someone to talk to besides me. Looking back, I can see all the signs I missed. The way Emily's phone suddenly had a password when it never had before. The way she took it into the bathroom when she showered. Her new obsession with expensive activewear and 5 a.m. workout classes. The work events that Jason somehow also attended. The way they'd both reach for the wine bottle at dinner and pull back too fast when their hands touched, like they'd been shocked. But I didn't see it. Or maybe I saw it and told myself I was being paranoid. When you're already questioning your own worth as a man, it's easy to dismiss your instincts as insecurity. The game night happened on a Saturday in September 2023. Sarah, Emily's best friend from college, suggested it. She said our whole friend group needed to reconnect since everyone had gotten so busy with work and life. The guest list was me, Emily, Jason, Sarah, and Lindsay and Trevor, this married couple we'd known for years. Marcus, my college buddy, rounded out the 7. Emily seemed anxious about hosting. She asked me 3 times if I was sure we should do it. She deep cleaned the house, bought expensive cheese and wine, changed her outfit twice. I thought she was just being her usual perfectionist self. I had no idea she was terrified. Everyone showed up around 7. We started with wine and small talk in our living room, the one with the exposed brick wall that Emily loved. By 8, people were drunk. By 9, Sarah suggested we play a game. Not just any game, a truth pact. The concept was simple, she said. Everyone writes down their biggest secret on a piece of paper, something real, something heavy, something they've never told the group. Then everyone signs their own confession and everyone else witnesses it with their signature. It was supposed to be this bonding exercise, this moment of radical honesty. What happens to the papers after? I asked. We burn them, Sarah said, or keep them, whatever. The point is we're all vulnerable together. I volunteered to be the designated driver that night. I'd had maybe half a glass of wine early in the evening, then switched to water. Someone had to be responsible, and honestly, I didn't feel like drinking anyway. I'd been in a weird headspace for weeks, this low-grade anxiety I couldn't name. So I watched everyone else get progressively drunker and sloppier. Jason was loud, telling stories and laughing too hard at his own jokes. Emily was quiet but kept refilling her glass. Sarah was philosophical about vulnerability and authenticity. Lindsay and Trevor were giggly. Marcus was just vibing. We all wrote our secrets. I wrote about my depression after the fertility diagnosis, how some days I could barely get out of bed, how I felt like I'd failed at the most basic biological function. It felt good to write it down, actually, like lancing a wound. Sarah wrote about stealing $2,000 from her company's petty cash. Marcus admitted he'd lied on his resume about having a master's degree, and his entire career was built on that lie. Lindsay confessed she'd cheated on Trevor during their engagement, and Trevor confessed he knew and forgave her. Heavy stuff, but the kind of heavy that drunk people think is profound. Emily took forever to write hers. I watched her hand move across the paper, filling 3/4 of a page with small, cramped handwriting. She kept glancing up at Jason, then at me, then back down. Her hand was shaking. When we were done, we passed the papers around the circle. Everyone signed everyone else's paper as a witness. Most people were too drunk to read what they were signing. They just scrawled their names and passed it along, laughing about how serious it all felt. I signed Emily's without reading it. I trusted her. That was my mistake. We burned the papers in the fireplace around midnight. Except the fire was tiny and mostly symbolic, so the papers just charred around the edges. People started leaving around 12:30. Jason was one of the last out the door. He hugged Emily goodbye in that too long way drunk friends do. He hugged me too, told me he loved me, man. I told him to text me when he got home safe. Emily went straight to bed. I stayed up to clean up wine glasses and cheese plates. I was tired but wired, that particular kind of exhaustion where you're too tired to sleep. I gathered up all the half-burned confession papers from the fireplace and the coffee table where people had left them. Most were illegible from wine stains and ash. I almost threw them all away, but something made me read them first. I read Sarah's theft confession, Marcus's resume lie, Lindsay's affair, and Trevor's forgiveness. I smiled sadly at my own depression admission, wondering if I should have kept it to myself. Then I picked up Emily's paper. The handwriting was definitely hers. I'd seen it on grocery lists and birthday cards for 9 years. The paper was dated and signed, Emily Morrison Hayes, September 23rd, 2023. Below her signature were 4 witness signatures: Sarah Williams, Marcus Thompson, Lindsay Anderson, Trevor Bennett. I started reading. I've been sleeping with Jason for 13 months. My hands went numb. I read it again. The words didn't change. It started at the company holiday party in December 2022. We were both drunk, and it just happened in his car in the parking garage. We said it was a mistake. Then it happened again in January, then February. Then it wasn't a mistake anymore. It was just what we were doing. I sat down on the kitchen floor. My legs literally gave out. I got pregnant in May 2023. I told Christopher it was my annual gynecological checkup when I went to the clinic, but I had an abortion. Jason drove me there and picked me up. I couldn't tell Christopher because I wasn't sure if it was his or Jason's, and I couldn't handle that uncertainty. I tell myself it's because we're not compatible anymore, that the fertility issues broke us, but I know that's a lie. The truth is I'm a coward and I fell in love with someone I can't have. Because Jason says he loves me, but he won't leave his girlfriend Victoria. The paper had more, but my vision was blurring. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I just sat there on my kitchen floor at 1:15 in the morning, holding proof that my wife had been fucking my best friend for over a year, had gotten pregnant and had an abortion without telling me, had been lying to me every single day while I blamed myself for our dying marriage. I wanted to run upstairs and wake her up screaming. I wanted to call Jason and smash his face into a wall. I wanted to set the house on fire with me inside it. Instead, I folded the paper very carefully. I put it in my work bag. I made myself a cup of tea I didn't drink. And I sat in my kitchen until sunrise, staring at nothing. When Emily came downstairs around 9, hungover and squinting, I was making pancakes. "Morning," she said, kissing the top of my head like everything was normal. "God, I'm never drinking that much again." "How are you feeling?" I asked. My voice sounded normal. I couldn't believe my voice sounded normal. Like death. "Did everyone get home okay?" "Yeah." Jason texted around 1. She poured coffee, sat at the counter, scrolled through her phone. I put a plate of pancakes in front of her. She thanked me. We ate breakfast together like we'd done 1,000 times before. I'd become an actor that morning, and I'd stay in character for 6 months. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in controlled insanity. I went to work. I taught the Civil War and Reconstruction to 16-year-olds who didn't care. I coached debate practice. I came home and had dinner with my wife. I smiled. I made conversation. I had sex with her once. She initiated it, probably out of guilt, and I felt like I was participating in my own humiliation. But I was also investigating. I was the primary account holder on our phone plan, which meant I could access detailed records. I pulled up the last 6 months of texts and calls between Emily and Jason. Over 200 texts per month, calls that lasted 30, 40 minutes. A pattern of communication that looked nothing like friendship and everything like an affair. I created a secret folder on my laptop. I made a spreadsheet with dates and times. I cross-referenced their schedules. When Emily said she was working late, Jason's location on Find My Friends showed him at the same place. When she said she was at the gym, he was running errands at the same time. I checked our credit card statements going back a year. There it was in May 2023, a charge for $650 to Austin Women's Health Clinic. Emily had told me it was her annual exam and pap smear. Our insurance covered those. This was out of pocket. This was an abortion. The pregnancy detail haunted me more than the affair itself. Had she really not known who the father was? Or had she known it was Jason's and couldn't face that reality? Either way, she'd chosen to terminate it without giving me even the option of knowing. That felt like a deeper betrayal than the sex. I tested her in small ways. I'd mentioned Jason casually. "Jason seems stressed lately, you noticed?" And watch her get defensive. "He's fine. Why do you ask?" Too fast? Too sharp? If she had nothing to hide, she wouldn't react like that. I watched them together at a group dinner in October. They barely looked at each other, which was the tell. People who are actually just friends make normal eye contact. People who are hiding something avoid it completely or overcompensate. They were avoiding. I told no one what I knew, not my parents, not my coworkers, certainly not Marcus or Sarah or any of the other witnesses who had signed Emily's confession without reading it. I carried it alone because I needed to be smart, not emotional. 3 weeks after the game night, I took a sick day and met with a divorce attorney. Her name was Diana Rodriguez. She came highly recommended for high-conflict divorces. Her office was in downtown Austin, all glass and steel and expensive furniture. She was maybe 45, sharp-eyed, wearing a suit that cost more than my monthly salary. I told her everything. I showed her the confession. She read it twice, then looked at me with something between sympathy and excitement. "Mr. Hayes, this is nuclear. This is the kind of evidence that wins cases. Can I use it? Legally?" She wrote it. She signed it. 4 people witnessed her signature. It's not a legal document in the formal sense, but it's absolutely admissible as evidence, especially if those witnesses confirm they saw her write and sign it. Diana leaned back in her chair. "Texas is a no-fault divorce state, meaning you don't need to prove wrongdoing to get divorced. But adultery absolutely affects property division and spousal support. With this confession, you have leverage. What's the strategy?" "Let her file first," Diana said. "She will, eventually. Cheaters usually do. They get impatient or guilty, or they think they can control the narrative. When she files, you let her show her hand. What does she want? The house? Spousal support? Then you counterclaim with this. She tapped the confession, and you watch her entire case collapse. How much is this going to cost me? My retainer is $5,000. The full divorce, if it goes to trial, could run $20,000 to $30,000 total, depending on complexity. She saw my face. I know it's a lot, but what's at stake? I thought about the house, my pension, my future. I'll find the money. I pulled $5,000 from an emergency savings account Emily didn't know I had, money I'd been setting aside from my summer school teaching gigs. I hired Diana that day. Then I went home and pretended everything was fine for 5 more months. Living with someone you're planning to divorce while they have no idea is a special kind of psychological torture. Every morning, I woke up next to Emily and remembered what she'd done. Every time she kissed me goodbye, I thought about her kissing Jason. Every time she said, "I love you," I wondered if she even remembered what those words meant. But I played the part. I smiled, I made dinner. I even agreed when Emily suggested couples counseling in March to work on our communication. I went to therapy with her and talked about feeling disconnected, about the fertility struggles, about needing to prioritize quality time. The therapist, Dr. Patricia Sullivan, gave us homework like date nights and gratitude journals. I did it all. More evidence of good faith effort, Diana said. Jason started pulling back a bit during this time. Fewer visits, more excuses. In April, he got engaged to someone new, Victoria Rodriguez, a 28-year-old interior designer he'd been dating for only 4 months. The engagement was fast, suspiciously fast. The kind of fast that screams overcompensation? Emily seemed upset around this time. She drank more wine at night. I heard her crying in the shower once. Part of me, the part that wasn't completely dead inside, almost felt sorry for her. She was losing Jason to another woman while stuck in a marriage she clearly didn't want. But then I'd remember the abortion, and the sympathy evaporated. I watched Jason's Instagram posts about Victoria, the engagement photos at Mount Bonnell, the ring, probably cost $15,000. Victoria looked happy, oblivious. I wondered if Jason had told her about Emily. I was pretty sure he hadn't. Then, in June 2024, everything accelerated. Emily served me with divorce papers at school. The process server showed up during third period and asked the principal to pull me out of class. I walked into the main office to find a stranger handing me an envelope. The secretary looked mortified. The principal looked uncomfortable. I signed for the papers and went back to teaching the new deal like nothing had happened. That night, I read the petition. Emily wanted a 50-50 split of all marital assets, the house equity, about $180,000, half my teacher's pension, and spousal support of $1,000 a month for 3 years, because she'd become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. The narrative in her filing was clean. Irreconcilable differences, no fault on either side, mutual growing apart. She'd gotten ahead of the story. She was the reasonable party seeking an amicable split. She'd moved out to an apartment downtown before serving the papers. She took most of the furniture. She changed her Facebook status to "It's complicated" and posted something vague about choosing myself. Friends started choosing sides. Most leaned toward Emily. She was more social, more charismatic, better at crafting her public image. Jason posted his engagement photos with Victoria that same week. Emily liked them. The audacity made my blood boil. I called Diana. "I'm ready to use it." "Are you sure? Once we file the counterclaim, this gets ugly." "I'm sure." We filed my response in July. Along with my counterpetition, we attached a notarized copy of Emily's confession. We cited adultery as grounds for fault-based property division. We demanded Emily receive minimal settlement, pay her own legal fees, and waive any claim to spousal support. We also subpoenaed all 4 witnesses for depositions. Emily's lawyer called Diana the next day, screaming about the confession being inadmissible, fabricated, taken out of context. Diana calmly explained that we had the original, it was in Emily's handwriting, and we had 4 witnesses who could confirm they saw her write and sign it. Then Emily called me directly. First time we'd spoken in weeks. "You fucking bastard," she said. Her voice was shaking. "You can't use that. It was from a drunken game. It was private." "You wrote it," I said. My voice was ice. "You signed it. 4 people witnessed your signature. It's evidence." "I was drunk. I didn't mean..." You didn't mean to confess to a year-long affair with my best friend? To getting pregnant and having an abortion behind my back? Which part didn't you mean, Emily? Silence on the other end. Then, you're a psychopath. I'll prove you fabricated this. You can try, I interrupted. I have the original with your handwriting. I'll put every single one of those witnesses on the stand. Sarah, Marcus, Lindsay, Trevor, they all signed it. Do you really want them to testify about what you wrote? She hung up. 3 days later, her lawyer offered a settlement. Emily would take $40,000 and waive spousal support. Diana said it was a good offer. I should take it. I thought about it for exactly 10 seconds. No, I said. I want a trial. I want a judge to read that confession out loud in court. I want it on the public record. Diana gave me a long look. Are you sure this is about justice? Or is this about revenge? Does it matter? It might, to you, eventually. Schedule the trial, I said. But I wasn't done, not by a long shot. In August, I hired a private investigator for 1 week. It cost me $1,500 I really couldn't afford, but I needed to know if Emily and Jason were still in contact, despite his engagement. The PI got me photos, Emily and Jason meeting for coffee at a place on South Lamar, sitting in Jason's car in a parking lot for 47 minutes. They weren't kissing or touching, they were talking. But the body language said everything, leaning in, intense eye contact, her hand on his arm. The phone records backed it up. Jason had called Emily 47 times in the week after she was served with my counterclaim. 47 times. He was panicking. I added the photos to my evidence binder. The depositions happened in September. Sarah went first. She looked terrified sitting across from Diana in the conference room. When asked if she'd witnessed Emily write and sign the confession, she said yes. When asked if she'd read what Emily wrote, she admitted she hadn't. She was too drunk. But she confirmed the signature was real and Emily had been sober enough to write clearly. Marcus confirmed the same. Lindsay and Trevor claimed they'd been too drunk to remember much, but they couldn't deny their signatures on the document. None of them wanted to be there. None of them wanted to choose sides between me and Emily in such a public legal way. But they'd signed their names on that paper, and now it was binding them to the truth whether they liked it or not. The trial was scheduled for November 3rd. Jason's wedding was scheduled for October 15th. That gave me about 6 weeks to decide. Did I let Jason marry Victoria without knowing who he really was? Diana advised against interfering. Focus on your own case. Don't give Emily ammunition to paint you as unhinged. But I couldn't let it go. Jason had been my best friend for 24 years. He'd been my best man. He'd sat at my dinner table hundreds of times. He'd pretended to care about me while fucking my wife for over a year. Victoria deserved to know what kind of man she was marrying. I did my research. Victoria was Catholic, traditional family. The wedding was at a church, reception at Barton Creek Country Club. The rehearsal dinner was the night before, October 14th, at the same country club. Rehearsal dinners are technically semi-public events at venues like that. Anyone can walk into a country club if they're dressed appropriately and confident enough. I bought a suit. I practiced what I'd say. I put a copy of Emily's confession in my jacket pocket. And on October 14th, 2024, I drove to Barton Creek Country Club at 7 p.m. The rehearsal dinner was in full swing when I arrived. 80 people, maybe more. String lights, open bar, tables covered in white linens. Victoria looked radiant in a cream-colored dress. Jason was in a navy suit, laughing with his groomsmen. I spotted Emily in the back corner with Sarah, both of them holding wine glasses, both of them looking uncomfortable. I got a drink from the bar, just tonic water, and blended into the crowd during cocktail hour. No one questioned my presence. I looked like I belonged. Dinner started at 8. Toasts began around 8:30. Victoria's father went first, talking about how happy he was to welcome Jason into the family. Jason's brother went next with a funny story about their childhood. Everyone laughed. The room was warm and golden and full of love. Then Jason stood up for his own toast. I just want to thank everyone for being here, he said. His voice was thick with emotion. Finding Victoria has been the greatest gift of my life. I never thought I'd find someone who understood me so completely, who made me want to be a better man. That's when I stood up. The room didn't notice at first, but Jason saw me. His face went completely white. The wine glass in his hand started shaking. Chris, he said. What are you? I have a question, Jason. My voice was loud, clear, steady. The room went quiet. 80 people turned to stare at me. About a document you signed 6 months ago. I started walking toward the head table. Victoria stood up, confused. Who is this? I'm Christopher Hayes, I said. Jason's best friend since we were 8 years old. Or, at least I was. I pulled the confession out of my jacket pocket, unfolded it. This is a confession my wife wrote. Your fiancé witnessed it. Should I read it out loud, or do you want to tell Victoria yourself, Jason? Jason lunged for the paper. I stepped back. He missed. What the fuck are you doing? He hissed. I'm telling the truth, I said. Then I started reading. I've been sleeping with Jason for 13 months. It started at the company holiday party in December 2022. Stop! Emily screamed from the back of the room. She was running toward me, Sarah chasing after her. I kept reading. I got pregnant in May 2023. I told Christopher it was my annual gynecological checkup when I went to the clinic, but I had an abortion. Jason drove me there and picked me up. Victoria's mother fainted, actually fainted. 2 people caught her before she hit the ground. The room erupted in chaos, people shouting, gasping, Victoria screaming at Jason. What is he talking about? Jason grabbed my arm. You fucking psychopath, this is my wedding. This is my life, I said. I pulled my arm away. 4 people witnessed her write this. Your signature is right here, Jason. You signed it. You knew what she'd done, and you watched her write it down, and you signed your name, and you said nothing. Jason swung at me. He was drunk and emotional, and his punch was slow. I ducked. He missed completely and stumbled forward. Security was on us immediately. 2 guys in black suits pulled Jason and me apart. The country club manager was there, asking what the hell was going on, asking me to leave. I held up the confession. Anyone want to read the rest? It's all here. 13 months of affair, a pregnancy, an abortion, all signed and witnessed. Ask Jason if it's true. Victoria was sobbing. Her father was holding her. Her mother was being fanned by bridesmaids. Jason was trying to get to Victoria, security blocking him. It was a mistake, Jason shouted. It's over. It's been over since I met you. You were sleeping with a married woman while dating me? Victoria's voice was raw. Emily reached me, mascara running down her face. You're a monster. You're fucking insane. This is consequences, I said. I looked at Jason one last time. You were my best friend, my brother, and you betrayed me for over a year. So, yeah, I'm ruining your rehearsal dinner. Consider us even. Security escorted me out. Behind me, I could hear Victoria screaming, people arguing, the sound of something breaking. I got in my car and drove home. My phone started ringing immediately. 47 calls in the next 2 hours. Emily, Jason, Sarah, Marcus, numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored all of them except one text from Marcus. Dude, that was insane, but I get it. I sat in my living room with a beer I didn't drink and waited to feel something. Triumph, satisfaction, vindication. Instead, I just felt empty. The fallout came fast. Within 24 hours, someone who'd been at the rehearsal dinner sent me a video they'd recorded on their phone. I didn't ask for it. I didn't post it anywhere. But knowing it existed felt like having insurance. Victoria called off the wedding. The venue deposits were lost. Over $30,000. The church canceled. Guests were notified via a mass email that simply said, "The wedding will not be taking place. Please respect our privacy." Emily's Instagram went private overnight. She lost 400 followers in 2 days. Her carefully curated healing journey posts disappeared. Jason's real estate business took a hit. 3 clients dropped him within a week. One of them told him directly, "I don't work with people I can't trust." Austin's a small town in a big city kind of way. Word spreads. The mutual friend group imploded. Sarah stopped speaking to both me and Emily. Marcus checked in on me, but kept his distance from the drama. Lindsay and Trevor unfriended everyone on Facebook and went dark. My school principal called me on Monday. I thought I was getting fired. Instead, he asked, "Are you okay?" I said I was handling it. He said, "Take the week if you need it, but Chris, maybe talk to someone." I didn't take the week. I went back to work because staying home alone with my thoughts felt more dangerous than facing 16-year-olds who didn't know or care about my personal life. But Emily started to unravel. Her parents, conservative religious people who lived in Houston, called me. Her mother said, You could have handled this privately. I hung up on her. Her father sent me a long email about forgiveness and Christian values. I deleted it without reading past the first paragraph. Emily's boss at the startup called her in for a meeting. The official line was, "Office morale concerns." The reality was that half her team had heard about the affair and abortion through the social media grapevine, and it was affecting her ability to lead. She was put on administrative leave. She started posting and then deleting Instagram stories, quotes about surviving narcissistic abuse, vague references to toxic people. Then those disappeared too. I heard through Marcus that Emily was in therapy twice a week now. She'd been prescribed anxiety medication. She'd stopped going to the gym. She'd gained weight. She wasn't sleeping. Part of me felt vindicated. She'd destroyed my life. Now hers was crumbling too. But another part of me, the part I didn't want to admit existed, felt sick. Jason's life was imploding too. Victoria's brothers showed up at his office one day. They didn't touch him, but the threat was clear. Jason filed a complaint. It went nowhere. The brothers had just wanted to talk. Jason moved to a new apartment. His engagement to Victoria was permanently over. She'd moved back to Dallas to get away from him. His parents called me, begging me to leave their son alone. I told them I already had. What happened at the rehearsal dinner was a one-time thing. I wasn't harassing Jason. I was just making sure one person knew the truth before she made the biggest mistake of her life. "You destroyed his future," Jason's mother said. "He destroyed mine first," I replied. Then I hung up. Jason drunk called me 3 weeks after the rehearsal dinner. It was 2 a.m. I almost didn't answer, but morbid curiosity got the better of me. "I loved her," Jason said. His words were slurred. "Did you know that? I actually loved Emily. It wasn't just sex. I loved her." "Then you should have been a better friend," I said. "I know." He was crying. "I know I fucked up. But did you have to ruin my wedding? Victoria was innocent. She didn't deserve—" "Neither did I interrupted. "But you and Emily decided I didn't matter. So yeah, I ruined your rehearsal dinner, and I'd do it again." He hung up. I blocked his number after that. On November 1st, 2 days before our trial was scheduled to start, my phone rang at 6 a.m. It was Sarah. "Christopher, Emily's in the hospital." My stomach dropped. "What happened?" "She had a panic attack, a bad one. She couldn't breathe, thought she was having a heart attack. The paramedics took her to St. David's. They are putting her in the psych ward for observation. They're worried she might hurt herself." I sat down on my bed. "How bad?" "Bad." Sarah's voice was shaking. "She's not okay, Chris. I know what she did was horrible, but she's really not okay." I called Diana. She said, "Don't go see her. It could be seen as witness intimidation or emotional manipulation. Stay away." I went anyway. St. David's psychiatric unit is a locked floor. I had to call from the lobby to get buzzed in. The nurse asked my relationship to the patient. I said I was her husband, technically still true until the divorce was finalized. They let me up. Emily was in a small room with industrial furniture and windows that didn't open. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed. She'd lost weight. Her eyes were hollow. "Chris," she said when she saw me. She started crying immediately. I sat in the chair across from her bed. I didn't touch her. Sarah called me. "I tried to hurt myself," Emily said. She was on medication. Her words came out slow and heavy. "Last night, I didn't really want to die. I just wanted everything to stop." "Emily, you destroyed me." She looked at me with something between hatred and pleading. "You took everything. My job, my friends, my reputation. Jason won't talk to me anymore because his life is ruined too. My parents won't even return my calls. Everyone thinks I'm this monster. And maybe I am, but you enjoyed it. You enjoyed watching me fall apart." "Did I asked. My voice was quiet. "Didn't you?" The truth was complicated. Had I felt satisfaction when Emily's carefully constructed life collapsed? Yes. Had I enjoyed the rehearsal dinner confrontation? In the moment, absolutely. But sitting here in a psych ward, looking at what was left of someone I'd once loved, I wasn't sure anymore. "I didn't enjoy this," I said, gesturing at the hospital room. "I wanted you to face consequences for what you did. I didn't want you to end up here." "What's the difference?" Emily asked. I didn't have an answer. We sat in silence for a while. Finally, Emily said, "I know I was wrong. I know what I did was horrible. The affair, the abortion, the lying. I destroyed our marriage. But you didn't just divorce me, Chris. You systematically dismantled my entire life. You exposed me at a wedding. You put my confession in legal documents. You turned our friends into witnesses. Was that justice? Or was that revenge?" "Maybe both," I said. "Was it worth it?" I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman I'd spent 9 years with, who I'd built a life with, who destroyed me and who I destroyed in return. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Ask me again in a year." Emily's lawyer requested a continuance for the trial, citing her hospitalization. The judge denied it. Emily appeared in court on November 3rd, looking sedated and fragile. Her lawyer argued that the confession was inadmissible, the product of a drunken game, not a legal admission. Diana countered with depositions from 4 witnesses and handwriting analysis confirming it was genuine. The judge reviewed everything. Then he ruled. The confession was admissible. Adultery was established. Property division would be adjusted accordingly. The settlement the judge imposed, I kept the house, my pension, and my 401k. Emily received $25,000 in equity payout, not the $90,000 she'd originally demanded. No spousal support. Emily had to pay half my legal fees, which came out to $6,000. I won. Emily's lawyer tried to appeal. Diana shut it down. By December, the divorce was finalized. Emily Morrison Hayes ceased to exist. She went back to Emily Morrison. I went back to Christopher Hayes, single. We'd each destroyed the other in different ways. She'd killed my ability to trust. I'd killed her reputation. Looking back, I'm not sure either of us came out ahead. The months after the divorce were strange. I'd spent a year either in denial or in combat. Now that it was over, I didn't know what to do with myself. My social circle was gone. Half our friends had sided with Emily. The other half wanted nothing to do with either of us. Only Marcus stayed in touch, and even that was careful and infrequent. People at school knew something had happened, but no one asked directly. Teenagers picked up on the energy. My students got quieter in class. One girl asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. She didn't believe me, but she let it go. I was alone in the house for the first time in 6 years. The silence was oppressive. I'd come home from work and the emptiness would hit me like a physical weight. Some nights I'd sit in that blue-gray nursery we'd painted and think about all the futures that had died, the kids we'd never have, the marriage that had rotted from the inside, the friendship with Jason that was gone forever. My parents called every week. They didn't know what to say. "Are you eating? Are you sleeping? Do you need anything?" I appreciated the effort, but their concern felt like pressure. I started seeing Dr. Patricia Sullivan, a therapist in South Austin who specialized in divorce recovery. Our first session, she asked what I wanted to get out of therapy. "I don't regret what I did," I said, "but I regret who I became doing it." "Who did you become?" "Someone who could ruin a wedding, someone who could look at his ex-wife in a hospital bed and feel nothing, someone who weaponized the truth instead of just walking away." "Do you think you should have just walked away?" "I don't know, maybe, but I couldn't." She was going to take half of everything and rewrite history like she was the victim. I couldn't let that happen. Dr. Sullivan nodded. "So what now?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I need to figure out who I am without anger, because anger is all I've been running on for a year." She gave me homework, journaling, meditation, long walks, all the cliche therapy stuff that actually kind of helps if you commit to it. I also started purging the house. I spent my Christmas break removing every trace of Emily, photos, furniture, kitchen gadgets she'd picked out, the wedding album. I donated most of it. The wedding album I left at Goodwill. Someone tweeted a photo of it weeks later, and it had a minor viral moment. I ignored it. I repainted the bedroom. It had been pale blue, Emily's choice. I made it warm gray. My choice. I started running again. I hadn't exercised in 2 years, and my body hated me for it at first. But I kept going. 3 miles became 5 became 7. The physical pain was clean and simple compared to the emotional mess. Marcus reached out in January and asked if I wanted to grab coffee. We met at a place on Manor Road. It was awkward at first. "I should have told you," Marcus said. "I suspected something was going on between Emily and Jason, the way they were at parties, the looks. but I didn't want to accuse someone without proof. Would I have believed you without proof? I asked. Probably not. Then don't beat yourself up. We talked for 2 hours. It felt good to have one friend left. I also joined a men's divorce support group that met Tuesday nights at a church in Hyde Park. It was exactly as depressing as it sounds, but also weirdly comforting. Hearing other guys talk about their divorces, some amicable, some nuclear like mine, made me feel less alone. One guy had lost custody of his kids. Another had been cheated on by his wife with his own brother. Another had found out his entire marriage was a green card scam. My story wasn't unique. Betrayal was common, revenge was common, regret was common. In March, I made a decision. I needed to get out of Austin for a while. The city was too small. I kept seeing places Emily and I had gone, places Jason and I had hung out. Every corner had a ghost. I used the settlement money I'd saved, plus my tax return, and booked a 6-week trip to Europe. Iceland, Ireland, Scotland, solo travel. No plan except to be somewhere else. My principal approved the leave. My parents thought I was running away. Dr. Sullivan said it was healthy. I left in April. Iceland was first. I landed in Reykjavik on a Tuesday and immediately drove to the northern part of the island. I stayed in tiny guest houses and hiked during the day. At night, I watched the northern lights and wrote in a journal Dr. Sullivan had made me bring. The solitude was intense. I'd go days without meaningful conversation. But the silence wasn't oppressive anymore. It was clean. In Ireland, I hiked the cliffs of Moher and drank Guinness in pubs where no one knew me. I talked to strangers about nothing important. A bartender in Galway asked if I was traveling alone. I said yes. He said, running to something or running from something? Both, I said. Fair enough. Scotland was last. Edinburgh, then the Highlands, then the Isle of Skye. The landscape was brutal and beautiful. I hiked until my legs ached and my mind went quiet. On Skye, I met Claire. She was sitting at a pub in Portree, sketching in a notebook. Scottish, 34, a graphic designer who'd moved to the island after her own divorce. We started talking about nothing, the weather, the whiskey, the hiking trails. Then we kept talking. We spent 4 days together. Nothing serious, just company. We hiked, we ate fish and chips. We talked about our divorces in the kind of honest way you can only talk to a stranger you'll probably never see again. On the last night, we sat at the edge of a cliff and watched the sunset. What are you going to do when you get home? Claire asked. I don't know. Figure out who I am now, I guess. Are you still angry? I thought about it. No, I'm just tired. That's progress. When I left, we exchanged numbers. No promises, no expectations. Just the possibility of maybe something someday. I flew home in June. Austin felt different when I got back. Or maybe I felt different. The house was still too big for one person, so I sold it. The market was good. I made a profit. I bought a smaller condo downtown. 1 bedroom, modern, no history. I decorated it myself. My taste, not Emily's, not anyone's, but mine. Clean lines, minimal furniture. A desk by the window where I could grade papers and look out at the city. I kept teaching. My students noticed I was different, lighter somehow. My evaluations that year were the best I'd had in 5 years. The principal offered me department head. Small raise, big recognition. I accepted. I started texting Claire occasionally, nothing heavy. Just photos of weird things I saw, funny stories from school. She'd send me pictures of her sketches. It was easy, no pressure. In August, I ran into Sarah at Whole Foods. She was in the produce section. We made eye contact. For a second, I thought she'd pretend not to see me. Instead, she walked over. Hi, she said. Hi. Awkward silence. How are you? She asked. Better. You? Same. Listen, I'm sorry for everything. I should have been more aware of what Emily was doing. I should have... It's not your fault, I interrupted. You didn't know. Still, I'm sorry you went through that. How is she? I asked. I don't know why I asked. She's in Houston. New job. She's trying to rebuild. Good, I said, and I meant it. Sarah nodded. Take care, Chris. You too? We haven't spoken since. In September, I heard through the grapevine that Emily was engaged, someone she'd met at her therapy group. They'd only been dating 4 months. She was pregnant, due in January. I felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, just a distant curiosity, like hearing news about someone I used to know a long time ago. Jason had moved to Denver, sold his business, started over. I heard he was in AA, trying to get sober and deal with his shit. We'd never speak again. That friendship was dead and buried, and I'd made peace with that. The confession, the original one that started all of this, was still in my fireproof safe. I thought about burning it, throwing it away, some symbolic gesture of letting go. But I kept it, not because I wanted to hold on to the anger, just because it was proof that I wasn't crazy, proof that what happened was real, proof that I'd survived something that tried to destroy me. Maybe one day I won't need it anymore, but today isn't that day. Claire visited Austin in October. She stayed for a week. We went to Franklin BBQ in Barton Springs and the Bats under the Congress Avenue Bridge. It felt natural having her there. Easy. On her last night, we were sitting on my balcony drinking wine. "Are you ready for this?" she asked. "For what?" "Someone new. Relationship. Whatever this might be." "I don't know," I said honestly. "Are you?" "I don't know either, but I like you, and I think you like me. So maybe we just see what happens." "See what happens," I agreed. She flew back to Scotland the next morning. We're figuring it out. Long distance. No pressure. Just two people who survived their own disasters, trying to build something new from the wreckage. My therapist asked me last week if I'd forgiven Emily. "No," I said, "but I don't think about her anymore. Isn't that better than forgiveness?" Dr. Sullivan smiled. "Maybe. What about Jason?" Same answer. "And yourself?" That one was harder. I'm working on it. People ask me sometimes if I regret what I did. The rehearsal dinner confrontation, the legal warfare, the scorched earth approach to the divorce. Honestly, I regret what she did. I regret that I married someone capable of that kind of betrayal. I regret that my best friend turned out to be someone I never really knew. But what I did what I needed to do to survive. The confession gave me power when I felt powerless. It gave me control when everything was chaos. It gave me justice when the alternative was being quietly erased from my own story. Did it heal me? No. Revenge doesn't heal you. It just gives you space to start healing yourself. I'm not the same person who hosted that game night 18 months ago. I'm not the same person who sat on his kitchen floor reading his wife's confession at 1 a.m. I'm not the same person who ruined a rehearsal dinner or fought a year-long legal war. I'm someone who learned that loyalty isn't the same as love. That trust, once broken, doesn't get repaired. It gets replaced with boundaries. That sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. It just gives you better weapons. But I'm also someone who's learning to laugh again, to travel, to teach with passion instead of going through the motions, to open myself up to the possibility of something new, even if it's terrifying. The confession is still in my safe. The truth was always there. I just had it in writing. But I'm writing my own story now, and this time, I'm the only one who gets to sign it.